A former Manchester United fullback, Paul Parker, no, not Gary Neville, he did play right back, but still a decent player, a good player who has came out and spoke, not negatively, but he's delivered some constructive criticism to Paul Pogba. Now, join the queue, mate. There are several people who have came out and criticised Paul Pogba. I have been one of them, but I've also praised him when he's shown signs of that quality that Manchester United paid for.
I don't know if you like him or not. I just can't figure it out. No.
I'm rational. I'm not irrational in the way that, he's amazing, he had a great game. I did do a clip not long ago where I said get off his back because he was playing well at that point. Mm-hmm. His statistics in comparison to one of his best seasons at Juventus was better at Manchester United, but that was over a period of like 5 or 6 games. And now we're getting to the point where you can make a pretty accurate assumption as to how his season has been, because we're 25 games in. Has he proved to be worth 100 million? No. But then again, I don't think anyone's worth 100 million. So what Parker said basically in this, which is a valid point to start with, the problem is that he's not playing with the same caliber of players that he had at Juventus. So he's trying to do too much, holds on to the ball too long. And he said he never had so many touches of the ball at Juventus because maybe now he feels he doesn't have the players around him who he respects. And then he added later, which is kind of the more I would say harsher criticism. Maybe if he kept it more simple and began respecting the people around him, he'd do more instead of just flashes. I don't technically disagree with a lot of the things he says. Yeah, I don't think that he's painting it as if Paul Pogba was playing in the midfield trio at Barcelona. I'm not taking anything away from how good the players were at Juventus. Collectively, they were a great unit. But the players he was playing with, Vidal, Pirlo, Marquisio, they're all quality players, but Pogba was often looked at as the best of those. At times.
I would say he was the biggest impact player in the midfield.
So if he was playing, I get it, if he was like, you're playing with Iniesta and Busquets, like, you're going to thrive more. I don't know. I think that he did take a lot of the responsibility at Juventus, especially as Pirlo started to get towards the end of his time at Juventus, and after Vidal left, Pogba stuck around and he still was able to deliver well for them. I think what the difference is not as much the players, but it's the role. The system that was in place. Juventus were a very tight-knit, defensively sound unit. Paul Pogba didn't have to worry about tracking back, picking up the ball in his own half or his defensive issues. He did defend when he had to, but he played up in the higher parts of the park on the left. There was a full video I seen recently where it was comparing both. It was a very good video on how his roles are different. But it's not as much like, I feel like Paul Pogba is the type of player that he shouldn't be affected by as much the players around him. It's not like he's playing with Tom Cleverley in there. You know, he's got Ander Herrera, he's got Juan Mata, he's got Michael Carrick. Like, these are quality football players.
Tom Cleverley has 6-star skill moves in FIFA.
He does, really?
6. 6-star. The only one in the game was 6.
I think he's a little underrated.
I think he's very underrated. I mean, next year, 93 rating, right up there with Messi, Pogba, Ronaldo. Jokes. So, for one, I think we have to compare a couple things. There's obviously, we talk about this all the time, there's a difference between the Premier League and the Serie A. Mm-hmm. Juventus was the most dominant team in the Serie A. It wasn't even close.
By far and away.
And especially at the height of Juventus' success while Pogba was there, they're also a Champions League finals appearing side. Mm-hmm. Now, Manchester United are not that, but interesting from that video is that it seems like nobody wanted to give Pogba any time, and now that there's been a sample size, because you can't just criticize a guy over 5 games, even 10 games, it's just not enough. Mm-hmm. Because that wouldn't be fair. We give Klopp a full... the whole excuse for Klopp was, it's not his team yet, it has to be a full year. And then the same excuse for Van Gaal, it's not his full team yet, let's have him make signings. And it's different from the managerial side. But with Pogba, now there's been enough time, and there is flashes. He has the ability to give you a highlight. Mm-hmm. But the consistency, it seems like, is what Manchester United needed, not flashes.
Yeah.
So is he filling the need?
Not at the moment, for me.
Do you know how he can?
Yeah, they need to be able to allow for him to play higher up the field. And people are like, you can't form a system around one player. When you pay £89 million for that player, and the way that Jose Mourinho spoke about him, they value him to be crucial in them moving forward and getting back to the place where we know Manchester United want to be. So, yeah, I still think that there's a fundamental problem where Paul Pogba is playing a little too deep, and he is trying too many things at times, and sometimes it costs United because it's deeper. Like when he was at Juventus, yeah, he had a lot of great players around him, but he knew if he lost the ball in the final third, Marquisio, Vidal, Pirlo, like those type of players were going to cover for him in there. But at Manchester United, they're weaker defensively than what Juventus are. So maybe he's caught up in his head a little bit, and he does try too many flashy things, and he does take too long in the ball. But when he gets into his groove, there's been games where he's played as good as I've ever seen him, and he's been controlling the game, and he's been moving the ball faster. I thought this was a problem I seen with him at France in the Euros as well. I thought N'Golo Kante was one of the standout players, and I thought that Pogba broke down a lot of moves when he could have moved the ball a little quicker. That's his style of play. Now, can you change that? Yeah, you need to change it if you're going to play in the Premier League. Look what happened to Juan Sebastian Veron. He was literally consumed and eaten alive in the Premier League and spat back out because he tried to play the game at his pace. He tried to have the Premier League adjust to him. It doesn't work that way. That league is a tough league, and Pogba has all the attributes to be great.
So last question. This is a loaded question. It's not even fair. If it doesn't work out at Manchester United, right, which would, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be there for a couple of years. But I guess let's say for whatever reason, hypothetically, Pogba's on the market this summer. Is there a team that would want to sign him immediately that would fit better? Like, does he go back to the Serie A?
No, I think anyone with a slower paced league would take him. Anyone, Liga and PSG would be stupid not to take him. Barcelona would be stupid. Real Madrid
a lot of teams would be stupid.
All the top teams.
I guess my question would be like, not the Premier League. This is still in its experimental phase. I just wonder if he's going to be a long-time Premier League.
I think that he needs
player.
to be.
He should be.
He needs to be, not just for his reputation, but for everything that he stands for as a football player. Going back to a team where you failed on quote-unquote failed, even though I think he wasn't given enough time or chances, and left and went on to Juventus, established himself, and then came back. This is obviously a part of his career that has a question mark next to it, and he wants to right that wrong.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that if he doesn't do things well at Manchester United that he won't have a successful career. Look at Angel Di Maria. Didn't have the best time at Manchester United, and he's thriving at PSG. He just destroyed Barcelona. Played like the Di Maria we remember at La Liga. Sometimes the league is just some players just aren't cut out for that league, and that's why I always hold the Premier League in such a high standard, because it's a tough league, very tough. So many players. Look at Falcao in comparison. Monaco against Manchester City yesterday in comparison to Falcao with Man United and Chelsea.
I'm still really annoyed by John Stones' attempted hit on
very poor
on Falcao.
Here's a quick stat that Squawka has. It's pretty interesting. They like to dive deep into the stats that people might overlook. So on paper, Pogba is still considered one of the top 5 most creative players in Europe at the moment. Most through balls completed in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. Lionel Messi 12, Paul Pogba 12, Kevin De Bruyne 12.
But that's an interest. I love my stats. I think stats are wonderful. But to me, for one, we should have another clip talking about Kevin De Bruyne.
We should always be talking about Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, there's just I'm curious what what specifically is happening with Kevin De Bruyne at the moment. But the through ball one, of course, like Pogba, we've seen him do it at Juventus, we've seen him do it at Manchester United. He has a brilliant ability that he can tap into to use a through pass, a nice hard triangle pass through 3 defenders. He's able to do it. We've seen him do it before. I root for Paul Pogba. I do as a neutral fan. What am I talking about? I'm not a neutral fan.
You like Juventus?
I like Juve. I like Liverpool. I'm not neutral.
4 goals and 3 assists in the Premier League is not a good return for what was paid for him.
10 goals, 10 assists, minimum.
I don't know. If you're a midfielder, like I always, if I look at a player like Paul Pogba and the position that he plays, yes, you need to have stats to back up the way you're playing, but he didn't always back it up with Juventus, but he would still contribute and still always be a threat and always be consistent. So, I don't know, man. Like, you need to, I would say, yeah, you need to be looking at double figures for goals, especially how many chances he gets. It's not like he's not in and around the box. He's got great aerial presence. We've seen him use that before. So it's going to take a little bit more time than what many people would have thought. I'm not going to completely scythe the guy down at the moment. The Premier League season, we'll see how it ends. And I will come out and say it's not been a good first year, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to be able to bounce back. Mourinho signed him expecting him to be a good signing right away and make an impact, but also for the long term, because Manchester United, with a young player like this, that's the system they're going to build around him, especially if they're going to try and add more players to help move this team forward.
The Griezmanns of the world. There's one obvious solution. No Pirlo, no party.
That is always the motto. You don't even know.
Pirlo's not there anymore, so if they can lure Pirlo back to form, he'd still be great.
He could still do it. Like Paul Scholes.
He'd still be great. He'd still be great. All right, comment below where we shot this before Juve's side against Porto, who have not beaten them in a long time. So hopefully I didn't just jinx them, because I'm rooting for Juve once again. So comment below, like, favorite, and subscribe to the Young Turk Sports on TYT Network, at Francis M. Maxwell on Instagram.